Counting all physical bills and coins in circulation, the global total sits around $40 trillion. But the wealth dictating nations is almost entirely invisible. Adding up the digital wealth existing as blips on computer screens, the number skyrockets to $1.3 quadrillion. Where did this unimaginable wealth come from? Who made it? And how did a lifeless imaginary concept provide the incentive for tribal hunters to become blacksmiths, merchants, and kings? This global system functions as a collective leap of faith, an immaterial concept that only carries value because we collectively decide it does. While we often imagine early humans relied on direct item-for-item barter, anthropologists have never found a society that operated this way. Instead, small tribes relied on communal gift-giving. If a neighbor had food and you were hungry, they gave it to you. You were now in their debt, creating a mental ledger of social favors that would eventually be repaid. As populations expanded into cities, we began interacting with strangers from other tribes. Relying on communal memory to track debts became impossible when dealing with people you might never see again. This transition exposed a massive logical hurdle, the double coincidence of wants. For a trade between strangers to work, both parties must possess exactly what the other needs at the exact same time. If a baker needs meat, but the butcher already has bread and actually needs shoes, the trade fails. To get dinner, the baker must find a hungry cobbler, trade bread for shoes, and carry them to the butcher. Without a standardized medium of exchange, human commerce was paralyzed by these multi-step trading chains. To solve the friction of barter, civilizations began monetizing rare, durable objects, like the monetaria moneta, or cowrie shell. These shells were impossible to forge, could not be melted down, and flowed through global trade networks as a primary currency from China to West Africa. But commodity money had a significant flaw. Organic materials rot, die, or degrade. If your wealth is stored in grain or livestock, your savings literally disappear over time. Around 600 BCE, the Lydian kingdom introduced a fix. They minted standardized coins made of electrum, a natural gold and silver alloy. By stamping the metal with a lion's head, the king guaranteed the weight and purity of every piece. This stamp of central authority allowed merchants to verify value instantly without a scale, enabling overseas shipping routes to thrive. As trade expanded, metallic money became a logistical burden. International merchants had to transport thousands of pounds of heavy metal, making them prime targets for pirates and highway robbers. In the 12th century, the Knights Templar offered an alternative. A pilgrim could deposit their gold at a Templar branch in London and receive a coded, encrypted piece of paper in return. Upon arriving in Jerusalem, they presented that paper to withdraw their funds in local currency. While Europeans used these letters of credit, the Chinese Song dynasty began issuing jiaozi, the world's first state-issued paper money. These lightweight receipts officially replaced the crushing physical weight of traditional bronze and copper coins. Wealth was no longer tied to a physical weight. Empires expanded their reach as fast as a galloping horse could carry a piece of paper. Paper money introduced a dangerous temptation for rulers. Because they held the actual gold in secret vaults, they could print more paper receipts than they had gold to back them up. When a government floods an economy with unbacked paper while the supply of goods remains static, the value of each note drops. This is the mechanism of inflation, an invisible thief that causes prices to skyrocket. To restore public trust, nations adopted the gold standard in the 19th century. Every paper note became a legal promise that it could be exchanged for a fixed amount of physical gold stored in a vault. But during the Great Depression, this system collapsed. As citizens hoarded physical gold, the money supply shrank violently, leading to mass unemployment and the collapse of businesses worldwide. Governments realized they could not fight a global crisis while chained to the rigid limits of gold. In 1971, the United States permanently severed the dollar's convertibility into gold, ending the era of commodity-backed money. Today, we live in the age of fiat money. These currencies have zero intrinsic value and are not backed by gold, silver, or any physical commodity. This system is sustained by two pillars: the shared trust that a grocery store will accept your payment tomorrow, and the legal requirement that you pay your taxes exclusively in the state's currency. As money became an abstract concept, physical currency began to vanish. The introduction of plastic charge cards in the 1950s allowed wealth to be transferred with a single swipe, removing the need for coins or notes entirely. In modern economies, physical cash makes up less than 10% of the money supply. The rest exists as digital debt, created and destroyed by banks every time a mortgage is signed or a card is swiped. The 2008 financial crisis exposed the risk of this centralized trust. When the institutions managing the ledger fail, the everyday citizen is exposed to systemic collapse and the erosion of their purchasing power. Following that crash, an anonymous programmer known as Satoshi Nakamoto published a white paper for a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. This was Bitcoin, a ledger maintained not by a bank, but by a decentralized network that enforces scarcity through cryptographic code. Today, major powers are developing their own central bank digital currencies. These programmable tokens are designed to replace paper wallets, bringing the entire money supply under direct digital state control. From carved bones and cowrie shells to gold coins and digital blips, money has never been a tangible reality. It is a social construct that only holds power because we collectively agree to believe in the story.